Good day, everyone. Here we are on the Bible in a Year 2021, day 88. And we're dealing with the last day of Joshua, Joshua 22, 23, and 24. So that went in a blink of an eye, didn't it? Here we are. Let's just start with verse 3 here. Like I ask, is there a higher compliment? It's right now Joshua is about to release the tribes that came over the Jordan with them, that their territory actually rests on the other side of the Jordan. And they had made their promises that they were going to be they would go in front of Israel and fight until they possess all the land. But it has taken a long time. I don't know really a period of time this is. It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years, 15 years later. I don't know. Joshua's been leading them in the land for, well, he like around 30 years or so. So I'm not sure at which stage this is. I have a feeling it might be after 5 years, just because he's considered old at this point, but he's not considered very old yet. So at this point, he's probably around 25, 26, somewhere around there. And 25, 26, 85, 86. Should always listen while I'm talking, right? Okay, so here he's releasing them, and he says, during these many years, you never once deserted your fellow Israelites. You faithfully obeyed the command of the Lord your God. They were true to the word. And I mean, what higher compliment could you get? You never deserted. You never deserted your family, and you fully obeyed um, the commands of the Lord. I mean, that's faithful to the Lord, faithful to the family. In verse 5, we see here Joshua he kind of just compresses this thing, and he just gives them like this couple of statements here, and a summation really of the law as far as relationship with Yahweh goes. Just be careful, just be very careful to carry out the commandment and instruction that Moses, the Lord's servant, commanded you. Love the Lord your God, walk in all his ways, and obey his commandments. Hold on to him and serve him with all your heart and being. What a wonderful um, summation of what it is to be in relationship with Yahweh. Not an obligation from fear, but an obligation of love. Because you love is an action. When you tell somebody you love them, it comes with all kinds of things that you're saying. When you say you love them, that means you're going to protect them. You're going to encourage them. You're not going to attack them. You're not going to call them down. You're not going to keep a list of wrongs. You're going to be, patient with, and so on. That when you tell somebody you love them, it comes with all kinds of stuff. And so, in loving the Lord, what do we have here? Love the Lord your God, walk in all His ways, and obey His commands. So follow His instructions. He created you. He's given you the instructions that come with you belonging to him because he created you. He knows how you function best. So like this is the manufacturer's warranty here. And these are the instructions. Follow these instructions or the warranty's void. Hold on to him and serve him with all your heart and being. Just a wonderful summation. And in verse 8, I'm saying here, around 5 years. It's 5 years, but listen, don't hold me to that because we don't know. When we go home, if this is going to be one of the questions that's on your mind, and you go up to them and say, "By the way, when did Joshua release you? Was it 5 years?" And don't come looking me up and say, "Hey, you were wrong." Okay, I'm just saying it could be 5 years. Okay, um, but it could have been any time in the. It wouldn't have been less than 5 years, that's for sure, because we've already been talking to Caleb, and Caleb has indicated it's been 5 years up to his point. So we know we're past 5 years at this stage, but I don't know if it's like at the 28-year mark with him or so. I've just like 5 years. Okay, so He said to them, return home with great wealth and many cattle, with silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and with much clothing. Divide the spoil taken from your enemies among your own people. And then we have this thing that happens. And this probably is the big takeaway from today. And it's about appearance. Okay. And so we have here the appearance of trouble. It's the appearance of trouble. This is the reason why the scripture tells us that we're not really in a position of being a judge because we're not all knowing. We don't know all the facts. There's only one who knows the heart of people. There's only one who understands motivations. There's only one who is present in all things and knows all things. Only he can judge the situations correctly, and we're not him. So we need to be careful because look at what happens here. Then the Israelites heard a report. Look, the people of Reuben, the people of Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh have built an altar at the far edge of the land of Canaan. It lies in the districts of the Jordan on the Israelite side. Okay, so this is a factual thing. They have done this. They've built an altar. Okay, the location it is also a fact, but how they interpret it, that's the problem. They said in verse 16, here is what the Lord's entire community says. What's this disrespectful thing that you've done to the God of Israel? Today, you've turned away from following the Lord by building yourselves an altar as an act of rebellion against the Lord. Because that's what it looked to them. It looked like they had built an alternate altar, and they were planning on doing the sacrifices there where the commandment of the Lord was to go to the place that he designated during those three festivals that we've already named previously, and they had to appear 3 times a year. And so they're building, it looks like this is an act of rebellion. That's what it looks like, and that's what they're accusing them of. Thankfully, they've rallied all of Israel right now against. They're about to attack, and they sent out this group to inquire. Thankfully, they did that before attacking, and they go on, and we can see how come they're sensitive on this matter, and they say, didn't Achan, Zerah's son, do such a disrespectful thing with the items reserved for God? Wrath came on the entire community of Israel, and he wasn't the only one to die for his crime. So like they're looking back at this, and this just goes back 30 years or so, maybe sooner. We'll get into that again. Okay, so looking at this, it's recent history, it's fresh. Some of them are relatives of those who died in that battle of Ai, and they died because of Achan's actions here. And so this is something they're concerned about, because if they don't address this apparent rebellion right away, they all could suffer. But then truth reveals reality over appearance. Truth reveals reality over appearance. So it's not about, truth isn't going to be vague about the appearance. It's going to show you the reality of what this is, not what it looks like. So it says here, as a result, we said, what they've expressed so far is like they were concerned that because they're separated by the Jordan, that they will be cut off, that they will not be considered part of Israel anymore, and they won't get to go to the temple or the place. There's no temple at the moment, but the location of where the sacrifices will be held, and they're just afraid that they'll be cut off from Yahweh. So they say, as a result, we said, let's protect ourselves by building an altar. It isn't to be for an entirely burned offering or for sacrifice, but it is to be a witness between us and you, and between our descendants after us. It witnesses that we too perform the service of the Lord in his presence through our entirely burned offerings, sacrifices, and well-being offerings. So in the future, your children could never say to our children, you have no portion in the Lord. So this thing that is they've built, It's just it's a monument. It's not a for use sort of thing. This is like a replica to say, hey, we're part of you. It's to go forward. It's a memorial to say that we are part of you. We worship in the same way that you worship, um, which gives it a completely different feel about it now. So we have here the conclusion of this matter. So Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, said to the people of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, "Today we know that the Lord is among us, because you haven't done a disrespectful thing against the Lord. Now you've delivered the Israelites from the power of the Lord." And so they go back and everybody disbands and everybody's happy and it's great. But you can see what kind of problem there would have been if they did not ask questions. At the same time, though, that they were keeping um, those tribes accountable as well for all of their sake, because they know what group punishment looks like. Now we go to the next chapter, and suddenly we see here. Here is where Joshua went from old, being around 85, to very old, being around 110. So a long time passed right there. A long time passed. The Lord had given rest to Israel from all their surrounding enemies, and Joshua had grown very old. Remember, Moses died at 120. So Joshua's facing this 10 years younger. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But we see here that even after all this time, what is it now? 35 years? 30 years, 30 years in the promised land, 30 years there. They have yet to move into the fullness of that promise. And we saw with the attitude of the Ephraimites, why? They lacked the boldness. They lacked the confidence to step in and displace the Canaanites. They thought they couldn't do it. And so they let the Canaanites be. And so this is what was happening. They were not moving into what they were supposed to take. So the Lord your God will force them out before you. He's telling them, just go possess this. The Lord your God will force them out before you and remove them from you. Then you will take over their land exactly as the Lord your God has promised you. So he's about to die. He's about to move on, and he wants to assure them, guys, you have to move into this. Thing is that they didn't, and it wasn't until David that they actually came into the full possession. And that's a long way down the road. We have a lot of judges to go through, and we have to live through Saul yet before we get to that place. And then even then, David has to grow in strength before they can move into all the land. But he does give there's a series of warnings here, and he says, for your own sake, be very careful to love the Lord your God. Guys, we can't live. We can't just coast through life. We have to live with intention. You know a marriage is not going to be very strong if you don't put time into the relationship. And your relationship with Yahweh, it's not going to be very strong. That love will not continue. There's a lot of lovers that are going to attract your attention. They are going to want to take that love away from the Lord. And we have to live with intention towards the Lord. And that's really what Joshua is talking about here. He goes on, but if you should turn away and join the rest of these nations that remain with you, because they haven't removed them, intermarry with them and associate with each other, then know for certain that the Lord your God won't keep on removing these nations before you. Instead, they will be a snare and a trap for you. They will be a whip on your sides and thorns in your eyes until you vanish from this fertile land that the Lord your God has given you. And having already read the book and knowing the history, we know this is exactly what happened. They took on the gods of of the Canaanites that they had allowed to live among them. And so Joshua repeats. Joshua Joshua knows what was revealed to Moses. Joshua sees the people. He knows the people. He's been leading them for a long time. And before that, he assisted Moses with the leading of these people. And, and he just says to them, if you violate the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you to keep, and go on to serve other gods and worship them, then the Lord will be furious with you. You will quickly vanish from the fertile land that he has given you. So it's clear. It's clear. It's the same warning that Moses gave to them. And then he goes through and he reminds them. He gives them the history lesson. He starts off with, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors lived on the other side of the Euphrates. They served other gods. Among them was Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor. It was Abraham at that time, but that's okay. He's known as Abraham. Um, and he just goes down through the whole history right up to where they are now. It's actually a very nice summation of where they are in this moment. And so he makes sure that they remember where they came from and what the Lord has done for them. In this, there's this little mention of all the stuff that's going on. I thought it was important to point this out, but I wasn't willing to listen to Balaam, says the Lord. So he actually blessed you. I rescued you from his power. There was real danger there, just as dangerous as a huge army coming out against them. And we don't always stop and consider that. We consider the physical, things that we have to overcome, the financial things we have to overcome, and sometimes we don't realize that there is an enemy that is trying to curse us all the time, and the Lord protects us. The Lord protects us, and we got to see that and understand that as a real danger there. And then here's Joshua's final challenge to Israel. And this is the famous thing that everybody remembers of Joshua, but it's important that we point this out. So now revere the Lord, serve him honestly and faithfully. Put aside the gods that your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. Serve Yahweh. But if it seems wrong in your opinion to serve Yahweh, then choose today whom you will serve. Because you always be serving something or someone. Choose the gods whom your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live. But my family and I will serve Yahweh. And then the people respond to him. God forbid that we ever leave the Lord to serve other gods. This is from their mouth, right? And then you have Joshua's response. You gotta love it. You can't serve the Lord because he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He won't forgive your rebellion and your sins. So in other words, don't take this light, guys. Either you're all in or you're not in at all. You can't do half measures here. And your attitude right now is half measures. You can't serve him with this kind of attitude. But then the people said to Joshua, no, the Lord is the one we will serve. So Joshua said to the people, you are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen to serve the Lord. They said, we are witnesses. So this is what is important to understand. You need to hold onto this portion right here. They made this choice. So going forward, they have identified themselves as belonging to Yahweh. He is their God. They are his people. And in such, they are promising to follow his instructions, his rules, his values, his heart. This is what they are going to live by. So they are accountable to him. And he has promised them that if they claim to be his and then walk in rebellion, then he will bring correction. So when we see what he ends up doing to Israel, don't feel bad for Israel. They entered into this agreement. They entered into this. And so then the covenant. And on that day, Joshua made a covenant for the people and established just rule for them at Shechem. In other words, they have to live by the values and standards, instructions that the Lord had given to them. And then we have this. We have Joshua dying. We also have Eleazar, the son of Aaron, dying. So it's a changing of the guard here. We don't know who the head judge is now. The head judge doesn't really seem to get a lot of the spotlight or any of it, unless he's a king or high priest. But so we don't know where the head judge is on this right now. But it says all these events. After these events, Joshua, Nun's son, the Lord's servant, died. He was 110. And as I pointed out before, if he was around the same age as Caleb, then Joshua led Israel for about 30 years. Um, but he couldn't lead them to possess all of the promise. He couldn't convince them to fully trust Yahweh and just go for it. Here's just something, just to note, because we're going to come back to this. In verse 31, chapter 24, Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua. They had known every act the Lord had done for Israel. This is important to note because of what we're going to pick up in Judges tomorrow. It's important to know this. You need to know the season that we're about to go into, what we've come out of and what we're about to go into. And just the last note here, because it's important that we understand that they were faithful to the promise made to Joshua. Joshua demanded this of their brothers, and it's the descendants that have carried it out. The Israelites had brought up the bones of Joseph from Egypt. They buried them at Shechem in the portion of field that Jacob had purchased for 100 kasestas from the descendants of Hamor, the father of Shechem. They became a legacy of the descendants of Joseph. So there you go. They did what they promised they would do. So that's a lot. We covered a lot there. But congratulations, yay, confetti, all that sort of stuff. You have now completed another book. There you go. The Pentateuch plus Job plus Joshua. That's just amazing stuff. And now we're going into Judges. Some very interesting things are going to come out of Judges. We'll see if we can discover the values of Father's heart in there. So you guys be blessed. Have a great day. Thanks for persevering in this. Really appreciate that, knowing that you guys are walking with me in this. And yeah, talk to you tomorrow. God bless.